and welcome to the early edition of this week's Title Tuesday. My name is Anna-Maja Kazarian, and today I'm your host of the early edition of Title Tuesday. I'm super excited to be here. We're gonna have a great time together. And before we get into the games, we're gonna have a look at what we're actually gonna be looking at, what tournament this is, and what the prizes are. So let's have a look. So this week's prizes are, again, this edition has a prize of a fund of $2,000, 500. As I said, there are two Title Tuesdays every single week. So this is the first one. This is the early edition. Here you can have a look at the prizes. The first place wins $1,000, second place wins $750, third place $500, fourth place $150, and fifth place also wins the prize of $100. There's a top woman prize as well as a top streamer prize, winning each $100 of money. It's absolutely amazing, and the later edition is happening in 6 hours from now, so that means that every single part of the world is able to participate in this amazing event that is happening weekly. So yeah, we don't have a card of the format, but I can share with you that the format is 3+1, so 3 minutes of time with 1 second of increment, and there are 11 rounds. So there are a lot of amazing games to be played here that we're gonna be watching. I would also like to note that there are 2 breaks during this event. After round 4, we'll have a short break, as well as after round 8. And without further ado, I think it's time to get into the games. Let's have a look. We have a lot of strong players playing every single day. I forgot to mention that Title Tuesday is a special event for title players. So if you're a title player, you can obviously participate in this event. But this makes the event super special because, well, it's a really strong event with many strong grandmasters. So let's have a look. We see that on the first board we have Bogdan Diak against Fusatiuk Vladimir. Pardon my pronunciation. I'm really bad with pronouncing names, so I don't blame people for pronouncing my name badly at the same time. You know, I know how it feels like. Let's have a look how the game is going here. So we see that the position is very balanced. We see an isolated pawn in the center here. Basically, White's idea is here to trade off pieces and make it hard for Black to start any sort of attack here on the king side. Generally, the person that has the isolated pawn wants to attack the enemy's king. But as you can see, it's a bit difficult. Like, the bishop is looking at this pawn, but it's not able to make any damage to the king. You can think of sacrifices like that, but it's not really useful. So yeah, White's plan is basically to trade off pieces in such way that this pawn will remain vulnerable, and in the end you will be able to capture this pawn in the center. So it makes a lot of sense that the white knight disappeared from this square because you didn't want to take on e4. The pawn will take on e4, and then the pawn will not be so vulnerable anymore. White goes for knight f4, trying to hit on the bishop there. What is Black gonna reply here? Removes the bishop to d7. It's kind of interesting because this bishop is pretty bad in a sense that a lot of the Black pawns are on light squares, so it's a bit difficult to put this bishop on a nice square. But at the same time, it's a good defender of this pawn. Now, ideally, you would probably want to trade off these bishops because this bishop will be much better than this bishop over here. So okay, Black played knight c5 to attack the bishop. Bishop goes back. Very solid play here, very calm. Obviously, it kind of feels like they have so much time on their clock, but both players are just playing pretty fast, and they're not doing any crazy things. I have to say, though, knight e6, there might be some knight f5 hanging. You gotta be really careful because if you, like, you have to move the queen, and if you move it to a certain square, like for example queen e5, then you drop knight e7, check, losing the exchange. So okay, so he didn't do knight f5. In any case, there's a knight trade on d4. Let's see what happens next. it is obviously in favor of white here to trade off pieces. Now, knight e4 has been played. It's kind of asking white of like, okay, do you want to take? You're free to take. And I'm down for this trade because my pawn will be perfectly fine here on e4. So white plays queen e2, simply ignoring that. Makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of amazed by the fact that the game has been, going very slowly. Like, usually we see like crazy things happen early on in the game, especially like in such format. But both players are taking very slowly, very carefully, and it's actually really interesting to see. Usually in my games, like whenever I play Title Tuesday, it can get really crazy. But this looks like a really solid game so far. Queen e5 has been played. Probably want to start the attack with queen g5, threatening bishop takes h3. And white goes back with bishop b3. It's kind of funny to see that it goes so back and forth, you know? We've seen his bishop go from b3 to c2 to b3 a couple of times already. Bishop e6 has been played. Now, you would be wondering, why did black play this? Because there's knight takes e6, right? I mean, knight is not as great as the bishop, generally. However, in this position, you can probably tell that this knight is super strong on d4. So if white decides to take on e6, it's actually helping black solve the majority of their problems, as well as removing pretty much their best piece on the board. So, yeah, basically that's why white does not want to take on e6, and instead goes for rook c1, developing the rook. And goes back to c2. Are we going to see a repetition here? Bishop b3, knight c5? I don't think so. But it's kind of funny to see that they're going so back and forth like that. So f4 has been played. Generally not the greatest move here because it allows this black knight to be really strong over here. And it weakens a couple of squares. Like the pawn on e3 is a bit weakened now. It could definitely become a target for black. But for now, it's all right. I would say it's not the worst. It's definitely playable. Oh, there was a pawn hanging. f5 was a really good move. Okay. So pawn is gone now from black. It should mean that white is much better here. However, look at the pieces. Like, they're all pointing towards... they're all in the center, and this queen could become very vulnerable over here. So knight c4 has been played, hitting on the pawn on b2 as well as e3, and the queen should be worried here. So I would say like queen f3 would be the best move here. Knight takes b2, winning the pawn back. Okay, white is in a slight time trouble now, but black is around 30 seconds, so I'm expecting here a huge time scramble. Bishop c6 has been played, a slight inaccuracy. Is there... I was going to say there's maybe some bishop e4. However, there might be some knight d3 tactic. Kind of crazy. Queen e2 has been played, very solid. Both players are taking it super slowly. Okay, bishop b3 has been played, offering the trade. Is black going to take that? Bishop e4 might be interesting, actually. Oh, but the knight is hanging. The knight is hanging, so you have to take... Or they had to remove the knight, which was probably not even possible. So bishop takes b3 makes a lot of sense. What are you gonna do with this knight? It's actually trapped. There was probably an opportunity here for black here to save the knight, but now it's just lost. And it seems like white is gonna take the full point over here. Let's quickly jump to another game because we've only been stuck to this game. Let's see who is still playing. I'm expecting white to win here very easily. So let's have a look. At the next game, we see Nicolas Brunner against Dallas. Okay. Ooh! White is very low on time. White is very... Oh, bishop takes f5 and knight takes g3. Check, losing the bishop. But there's king g1 and rook h1. Wow, okay. I did not expect king g1 to be a move, but obviously you're just hitting on that rook over there. So, and in the end, white flagged, but it was winning for black anyway. So, okay, let's move on to the next game. We see Grishik playing against Agnes 666.78. Beautiful number. Always wonder if they're like if those kind of usernames have a special meaning to this number or if it's just random. I guess we'll never know. And wow, Grisha Gloss, that's quite an upset. I don't know what happened, but that seems like a big upset here. Wow, okay. Let's move on to the next game. We see Eric Hansen playing against I want to say well played, but I don't know if that's what they mean with their username. I'm just gonna keep it at that. Wait, what? Was that an attempt to play dirty? I think that was an attempt to play dirty because the pawn was unstoppable. Wow. I mean, I guess, you know, like, you gotta try what you can try. There's money at stake. Alright, we go on to the next game. There's quite a few games still going on. We see Naruto against Anton Demchenko. What is this end game? Let's have a look. This should be a draw. So why are you gonna take this pawn? Yeah, this should be a draw. Like, in the worst case scenario, you sacrifice the rook for the pawn, and the opponent has to do the same. So I'm not worried here about an upset or some craziness happening, but I should be careful with my words because I know what can happen in this time control, you know? I don't like where the king is going. I don't like it. I mean, Black's gotta be careful. I don't like that the king is so active. Like, that can cause some trouble there. And this king is not able to move from the b file. So ideally he would want to move the king to move the pawn, of course. Like, otherwise you cannot move the pawn forward. No! No! No, this is not happening! No! How to win here? Is it queen h1? And then you just follow the king and you just come close with the king and then king b3 at some point? No! Oh my god! Queen d4, king b1 should still be winning. Wait, what? Huh? Wasn't just queen d1, queen d2, king b3? Wasn't that just... Okay, very anticlimactic ending. Very anticlimactic ending. So, just for reference, I believe this is simply winning. I think the queen was on d1 already, right? Okay, so the queen was on d1 already. King a2 was not possible because of checkmate on b3. So that's why Anton played king b2, and after queen d2 you have to go back and you play king b3, and this is a very common pattern. Pretty much the only way you can win queen versus queen, unless there is obviously a skewer. But generally this is the way, like the only way you can win when the queen is against pawn and the pawn is promoting, right? So yeah, there's no way for black to prevent the checkmate here. It's checkmate like almost everywhere. So kind of interesting. I mean, it makes sense. But I mean, both players were very long on time, so anything can happen in the time control. But that's kind of crazy. All right, so we move on to round 2, everyone. We saw a few upsets already, so that's very promising for the upcoming rounds. Let's have a look. We see Wonderful Time. I know that's Min. I know him very, very well. Let's see how he's doing against Vaishali. Very, very strong player as well. From India. All right, so what is this opening? Oh, it started with the London system, actually. Okay. All right, yeah, this looks very normal. Bishop f5, okay, intermediate move over there. And we're currently in this position, g5. What are you gonna do here? I'm guessing Min is kind of calculating, should I take there or should I take like that? Because obviously the most obvious move here is bishop g3, so I can imagine that he's calculating something else. Okay, he goes bishop g3 in any way, in any case. Rook b8 has been played to defend the pawn b7, makes a lot of sense. White's position looks a bit sloppy here. Like, the knights are a bit awkward over there. They're developed, obviously, but not very active. And black has a beautiful center over here. The pieces are all coordinated very well. And I mean, I was gonna say sooner or later there might be e4, but you should be careful with this pawn move because it allows knight d4. So as long as black takes it easy, black should be much better here. Queen a4 has been played. Does Min want to play b4 maybe? Okay, so b5 has been played. I'm guessing the queen has to go back. Because if you go to a6, you lose the queen, pretty much. Okay, you don't lose it, but you lose a big, big advantage there. Well, it's not like white is much better here, not at all, but I'm just saying it will ruin it even, it will ruin your position. Let's put it that way. I don't know if we guys have a comment in the chat that we can do who is a certain username. Maybe the mods know more about this because that always helps us to understand who we are talking about here, whose game we're watching here. But generally there is this command that shows the real name of the players because all the players, all the title players need to have their official name on in their account, and we always have in a command. There we go in the chat. If you're wondering what the name is of one of the players, you can just say Chesscom who is, and then their Chesscom username. And generally, everyone is supposed to have their official name in their bio. Some players don't have it, and those players will not be eligible for prizes. But generally, the top players do have their name in their bio because of this reason. So, all right. Let's have a look what happened in the game. It seems like Min is coming back with the knight on c5. I don't know how the knight got there, but it looks like a beautiful square for the knight. Because of the fact that Vaishali pushed the pawns to b5 and d5, the c5 square became really vulnerable. And by playing b4, he also allowed this knight to be even stronger on this square. So it's really hard for black to attack this knight, kick it out of there. So yeah, now white is just simply dominating on the queen side of the board. Black is doing a really good job on the king side, I mean. However, what are you gonna do here? Like, I see f4 as a possible move here, but how do you continue? Okay, so white has taken on f4. It does allow f takes g3 to be really dangerous. I don't know, maybe there was, maybe rook f1 was supposed to happen to defend all of this. This gives black some chances. Let's see how Min responds to this, because obviously if you take, you lose the knight. Let's start off with that. Okay, Min is taking his time. Very crucial situation, because obviously after pawn takes, there's queen f2 check. He plays king h2. Makes a lot of sense, avoiding the check on f2. So after takes, you just take back with the pawn. I don't think you take with the king back is a good idea because that's checkmate. So yeah, he will probably have pre-moved this move. What is Vaishali gonna do? She is down to 23 seconds now. She gotta speed up because a 1 second increment is not a lot. I can tell you that, guys. 1 second of increment, you don't want to deal with that. You don't want to be in time trouble with this time control, really. All right, knight g6 has been played, offering the trade. And it seems like it's hard to avoid the trade because you can't really defend the knight on h4, so the trade has happened. This opens up a lot of opportunities for black to start an attack on the king. Queen a6 has been played, a very sneaky move, attacking the bishop on e6. Black defends it with rook f6. And both players are going to time trouble pretty much. We're gonna see a lot of fireworks, I believe. Queen e7, very sneaky move. But it doesn't threaten much. But it does keep an eye on that bishop. Okay, king g1 has been played. Queen e5. Is there... No, there's no rook takes e5. That's just me. That's just me seeing this. Knight d7! Took me a while, I have to admit. Knight d7 was maybe a move. However, the bishop was hanging. Nah, I don't think that was enough. Bishop takes g4 has been played. Seems like the best move because now you can take on e6. But white has to be careful. It's not over yet. It's not over. Queen f2? Rook f2? I don't know. So after bishop takes e6, I'm guessing... Oh, knight takes e6, and the engine is not happy about that. What? Ah. Rook f7, the queen... Okay, I... Imagine having 1 or 2 seconds on the clock in this position. I wouldn't know what is going on, what I'm supposed to be doing. Rook g1, very safe move. Queen h4. Rook g3 possible, but then bishop f5 maybe. Ooh. Okay, Min is holding on to that bishop very, very well. Is it maybe... No, the bishop can't even move. The bishop can't even move. What am I saying? Okay, rook e1, threatening rook e8 check. Black defends that. Wow. Vitaly is playing super well in this time trouble. Very, very accurate. Well, accurate, I mean, I guess for my standards, like, I would have been checkmated 20 moves ago with this time control, but she is holding on very, very well. King h2, rook d3, and this pawn is gonna be lost, and that will be the end of this game. Vitaly played super, super well. She had quite a few chances, very, very hard to spot though, so it's definitely understandable. I mean, Min is super strong. Min is a super strong player. You should never underestimate his powers. And yeah, there you go, resignation. Let's see what the others are doing. Obviously, a lot of games are done already. Let's have a look. Oh, I believe this. Oh yeah, this game just finished. Let's go to Ginger GM against Arseny Nesterov. Ginger GM Simon Williams. What is he doing here? So okay, he's up at exchange, and it looks like this pawn is very much promoting, but he has to be careful that this pawn is not gonna promote, and he plays it very well. He brings the king closer first to stop the pawn, and then move on to pushing the pawn on e5. And this should be easily winning. And there you go, resignation. Very well played. That could have gone in any way, because if you push the pawn here, you can't lose here with white, but you'll have to end up making a draw here. So very accurately played by Simon to get this king to f2. Let's see. We still have a few games left here. We see Alexandra Samaganova, also a streamer, guys. Go check her out. She's currently playing in Title Tuesday, as you can see. So you can follow her on Alexandra Samaganova. That's her Twitch channel. So always happy to see streamers playing this event. It's always nice. Obviously, Min is also streaming, but yeah, it always makes me happy to see streamers playing this event and streaming at the same time. So, okay, so that seems to be a really nice result for Alexandra, drawing against a 2400 plus player. So, looks like a really nice result for her. Let's see, we have 2 more games left, I believe. Okay, this is, well, okay. I was thinking, is someone like trying to troll here, or okay. okay, black one here. Okay, I don't think I want to see the rest of the game, but alright. Whoa, the game took 120 moves. I think someone got very upset. Alright. That is round 2, guys. We are moving on to round 3. As you can see in the standings here below, you can see how the top players are doing. We see in the top, I want to say top 10, but that's like a very quick guess. We see Jordan Fanforest, fellow countryman. So let's have a look. Okay, I'm trying to retrieve the games. There we go. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at Jordan's game against Sam Chessmood. There's obviously a lot of players on 2 out of 2, so it's hard to see how many players are on 100%, but the more there are, the more chances for 100%. And it's kind of like my goal to be there when we have someone win all the rounds. It's a little bit difficult to win all of the rounds because you'll have to win 11 rounds, but I'm here for it. I'm hoping to see it happen and be the host of that Title Tuesday. You know, it has happened before. I believe Hikaru won 11 out of 11 a couple of months ago, I believe, in 2021. We also had, I believe, Alexander Bortnik, having 9 out of 9 in a very early edition of Title Tuesday, I believe in 2016. So it's definitely possible to win all of the games, but gotta be very consistent. Gotta be very, very consistent. Yeah, I'm playing on my second monitor. It's my own goal as well to win all of the games in Title Tuesday. No, I'm kidding, obviously. Anyways, let's see what's going on this game. Very solid setup so far. Let's see what Jordan is gonna do with the knight and bishop, because obviously we want to see them developed. He plays c4. Really interesting approach. It's often very it's often like not a great move to play, because if white manages to play e4, there might be some weaknesses around here for that pawn, but it does allow black to have quite a lot of space on the queen side, and he could make use of that. So that's probably what he's trying to go for. This allows bishop takes f6, and we'll have to see how much that is gonna, like, how big of a problem that is gonna be for black. Generally, you don't want to allow that, but it seems like Jordan knows what he's doing here. Both players have spent the same amount of time, so they're it's not like one person's like in their opening prep or something, but both players seem to be knowing what they're doing here. Bishop e7, short castle, f5, trying to stop the e4 pawn push. Now, it's kind of like, in this position, you want to have a knight, actually. It's a typical position where the pair of bishops isn't that strong. It could become very strong, but in this very moment, we see that the knight is much, much better. The knight is hitting on the pawn as well as the bishop, whereas black is on the defending side. And you typically don't want to be on the defending side, because that means you're passive, and you want to play actively instead. So we also have to know that this bishop is almost looking like a pawn there. It doesn't have any nice squares to get on. If you could put it on e4 or d3, that would be amazing. But as I said, it's really hard to get past these pawns. You have to be defending this pawn. So yeah, let's see how both players are going to be dealing with this. King h1 has been played, rook c8. It looks like Jordan is slowly pushing on the queen side. Okay, knight f4. White allowed the trade, which makes a lot of sense, because the bishop, the light squared bishop of white is much better than black's bishop. So I believe white is just trying to go for that small advantage. However, white should be careful that black is not going to get too much play on the queen side, because these pawns are going to be very scary. Rook g8 has been played, bishop f3. We're probably going to see... Are we going to see rook trade? I would say so. I'm kind of expecting a rook trade, but I'm not sure for who that's better. So rook g6 has been played. He's probably going to double up on the g file. Is white going to play rook g1? Okay, there you go. There you go. The time situation is very balanced right now. It's always impressive to see, like, top players having still quite a lot of time left. Oh, was there some tactic that there was probably some queen a4, I believe. Probably some queen a4, because the pawns over here are very weak and it's really hard to defend them, because after queen a4, rook a1, queen c2, seems like the pawns will drop. So maybe that was a missed opportunity. Queen a4. Alright, bishop d1 has been played, a4, queen e2. White is playing it very passively now, which makes a lot of sense because the pawns are super scary. But now, it is very hard for black to push here at all. Very, very hard. So, I don't think this is either Sam Shankland or Sam Sefyan. You can check their name by typing exclam who is, and then their Chesscom username. That's all you need to do to figure out who's playing. But I don't think it's either of them. because the flag says Armenia, and even though Samsevian has Armenian descent, I don't think it's Samsevian. Okay, wait, we see what happened. Let me have a look. H5 was played, and okay, so that was a voluntary sacrifice, I believe, to probably open up the H file and maybe start an attack on that pawn on H2. Okay, so the king is escaping over here, probably going to E2 now. Queen H4 attacking the pawn on H2. What are you gonna do about that? Because it seems like, okay, he goes back. Queen H3! That was not possible to take because the rook was pinned. That's such a beautiful move, honestly. Queen H3. It's not doing much, but the fact that that's a move, it's possible, and White's not able to take that at all is super, super cool. All right. King E7. Both players are a bit shuffling around, trying to find, you know, a way to make use of the position, and suddenly White is winning a pawn on D5. How did that happen? I'm actually surprised that it was only able to capture just now. But I'm guessing it has to do with the fact that there was no attack on H2 anymore, so the king just defending that pawn was simply enough. Rook G8 threatening Queen G5, and it seems like Black's position is slowly falling apart. Is there Queen G7? Maybe not. Actually, Queen G7 and Queen F8, I mean, I don't see the win there, but I do see huge opportunities. Wait a second, where did the queen go? Where? Whoa, Queen C2? Where did the... Okay, I completely missed that, but suddenly the tables have turned, guys. The tables have turned, and now the pawns are unstoppable over here. Wow, what a turnaround. What a turnaround. Very well done by Jordan. Good job, good job. Wow, that was very impressive. I honestly missed how this happened. Where did the queen go? So rook takes H3. Ah, rook H1 was played, and suddenly you are forced to take, and the position slowly fell apart. King G1 seems to have been the blunder in this position, allowing Queen C2, and suddenly you're defenseless. So I think King H2 was a precise move here, or maybe even Rook G2, but in any case, this position was really hard to hold, and Queen C2 was a really nice find. Great stuff. Let's have a look at the other games, everyone. Let's see who's still playing. Oh, this game ended. Let's see if I can refresh the games because they're not refreshing. Okay, this game also ended. There we go. Okay, let's see. Pirulilo against Levinsky. Okay, this, I was gonna say seems to be a draw, but rook d1 check, and the pawn is pushing, and the king can get closer. Ouch. Okay. Let's see if White can convert this to a win, because the win shouldn't be so hard in this position anymore. Soon we're gonna see a bridge being built on the chessboard. And the bridge, guys, yes, rook c5. Rook c5, you're just gonna play king d7, check, king e6, check, rook e5. And it's over. Well done! That seems like an upset as well. Are we gonna see... Okay, I was gonna say, are we gonna see a checkmate or a resignation? Let's move on to the next game. Oh, round 3 has finished, guys. We have, let's have a look. Okay, we still have quite a lot of people on 3 out of 3. I believe, okay, I can actually count it now. It says 39 people are on 3 out of 3 on 100%. So let's move on to round 4. After this round, we'll have a short break. So let's get right into the games. Let's see how Jeffrey Zhang is doing against Verdunat. Okay. Okay, knight c3, e6. So this is a very symmetrical opening. Okay, not anymore, but it was a symmetrical opening from the English. Knight f5, attacking the pawn on d4. Knight e2, retreating the knight to defend the pawn on d4. e5 has been played. If you play d5 now, you might have to face e4. So that could be really dangerous. White decides to take on e5. Ferdinand is Gawain Jones. Thank you for that. I think you're right about that one. An English player playing English. Exactly. Yeah, people always expect you to be playing the opening of the country you're from. So in my case, that will be the Dutch opening. But funnily enough, I don't play the Dutch. I've never played it. Maybe I've played it like in a few games, but I don't know what I'm doing when I play the Dutch. So that's kind of funny. And I think, like, for example, with the French, like, there are some French players that play the French, but I think the majority doesn't. So yeah, that's another example, you know. But yeah, the English is, I would say, like, a bit more frequently played in that case. I mean, it's the first move c4, right? So that is a very popular move. Okay, 92. I was kind of waiting for a move here, but Jeffrey took a lot of time to play e4, and he realizes that he has to speed up here, because if you spend more than 20 seconds in this time control, that could already be a disadvantage for you. Queen a5 has been played, hitting on that pawn on a2. It's just a question, though. Is this pawn really that, like, is it really what you want? Aren't we afraid to lose our queen? But I think we should be fine. So rook d8 has been played. Queen e1. Ooh. It's not a move you want to play, but I think he's forced to play that, because if queen c2, then there's knight b4. And your queen is actually trapped over there. So queen e1 was forced. Queen a2 has been played, capturing the pawn a2. Knight c3, attacking the queen. Where's the queen going? Queen a5. Is there some knight d5? Obviously, if you take, there's knight takes c3, though, so that doesn't really help you, and this bishop is pretty much like your, like, strongest piece in this position. Let's put it that way. Queen a5 has been played, bishop d2, okay. Putting a lot of pressure on that queen. Is the queen going back to c7? But then knight d5 will happen. It looks like e4 was the start of, like, some really annoying sequence of moves for black here, because look how strong the knights are becoming. Also note how the c5 pawn is hanging as well, and it's really hard for black to defend that pawn, actually, because the queen has only a few squares left. If queen d7, you lose your queen right away with knight f6. If yeah, you're pretty much forced to play queen b8. Now bishop c3. So what white is trying to do here is trade off the bishops and then make use of the square of on f6 and perhaps try to go for checkmate. So okay, so Jeffrey plays queen e5, trying to block the diagonal for the queen, because obviously knight f6 check will be followed by another check or dangerous sequence of moves because of the queen on this diagonal. So Jeffrey tries to stop that with queen e5. What is what are you gonna do here? Okay, trading off the queens and then taking on c5. Makes a lot of sense because, well, free pawn, right? Look how beautiful the knights are placed, by the way. Beautiful. Beautifully placed. Okay, knight c7. Attacking the rook twice. So I'm pretty sure Jeffrey is seeing that. Very good. Rook b8. For those that are wondering, the knight was hanging, right? That's correct. But the rook was hanging as well, and it was probably very easy for white to retreat the knight safely. So now knight a6. It allows black to take that knight, but I can imagine that white is perfectly fine trading these pieces. Oh, okay. So Jeffrey decides to take that knight over here, sacrificing the exchange. Very interesting decision. Okay. Well, for what it's worth, the knight is kind of trapped over here. So I think Jeffrey is just trying to be very aggressive here. Bishop g4, attacking the knight as well as the rook over here on d1. So he will back. He got his exchange back. But it doesn't help that his position is super, super bad. Bishop b7. Now the rook has to go somewhere else on the 8th rank, and now the other pawn drops as well. And the position is slowly falling apart. f4 has been played. Knight with knight g4, attacking the pawn on e3. We're probably gonna see e4. Okay, rook d7. Okay. Gotta be careful with those knights. It can get tricky, but I don't expect anything crazy to happen here. White has the position very much dominated. I don't see anything happen here, but you never know. You never know. It does help here that Jeffrey is in huge time trouble, so White can pretty much take his time here. Knight f5. Yeah, it's a bit hard to coordinate with the knights sometimes. Like, they might be super annoying and strong pieces, but if they are defending each other and your opponent is able to attack one of the knights, it becomes a little bit difficult to coordinate with them, you know? So knight e4, making use of the fact that knight f6 is still a move, and now it should be GG. Is he gonna take with bishop or the rook? Or not going to take at all? Bishop takes, and I believe there's gonna be... Oh, is there e6? I wouldn't be so sure about e6, to be fair. But I think it was possible. I think it was possible. Okay, and Jeffrey lost on time, but the position was really, really lost, so makes a lot of sense. What I wanted to show quickly here is after a5, maybe that was e6, and after takes, you might be like, oh, I win the piece back, and that means I won a pawn. But after rook d8, king g7, rook g8, king h6, there's g5 check in the end, winning the rook. So that's why this small tactic was not working at all. Let's see. Let's move on to some other games. Games are slowly finishing in this round. Let's see. Oh, this game just finished in a draw. All right. That's another 2 people that are not on 100% anymore. Okay, we have Meri Arabidze here against Rasmus Veen. All right. Very interesting matchup. Even more interesting position here, because what is happening? Black should be winning here, considering the fact that White is in exchange down. But look at those pawns. Look at those pawns. Who's gonna stop them? Knight c6? Okay, and knight e5 is coming. And now you can push the pawn. White is still trying to figure out how to coordinate the pieces. This should be winning, but it's really hard to find the win here, because once you play d7, you're kind of tied down to that pawn with the knight. And now Mary find an amazing, ooh! What is going on? Okay, I'm not following engine at all. I'm just seeing that... Okay, there we go. There we go. But I'm not sure. Was there some defense there? Was it possible to maybe pin the knight? I'm not entirely sure, but what a nice game of Miri. What a very nice game. That seems like an upset. Not a big one because, well, Miri has 2700 rating, but still very nice conversion. That's why, guys, the knights should not be underestimated. The knight is a really dangerous piece, even when you're exchange up. And this should be winning. All right. Okay, so that means we have finished round 4, everybody, of Title Tuesday, the early edition. As you can see, we still have a lot of people on 100%. I believe 15 people to be exact. So a lot of people still fighting for first place. We're going on a short break now, guys. Don't go away, stay where you are. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes with round 5 of Title Tuesday. See you in a little bit. welcome back to the early edition of this week's Title Tuesday. This is your host Anna-Maja Kazarian, and we are moving on to round 5 of this edition. As you can see, we have a lot of players still with 4 out of 4. The games have started. Let's see what's happening. We see that the first place is Hikaru. People have mentioned already in the chat as well as the chat of this tournament that if Hikaru is not here, then we have Hikaru. So let's see what Hikaru has for us to show. We haven't seen his games yet, but let's have a look. He's playing against Moro182. Also good to note that Hikaru is a candidate master, so really impressive score so far. Okay, but right now, okay, we're seeing knight b5 is being allowed here. Knight e6. It's a little bit awkward here for black because this knight is super strong, but okay, it's not the worst. But it definitely gives white quite some chances here. Bishop d7 is attacking that knight over here. a4 is defending that, so that's really, really good. White might proceed it with a5, actually. But okay. I think so far so good. Nothing too crazy. And it seems like, yeah, white is up on time by like 30 seconds. Okay, 20 now. But, seems like Hikaru is doing quite well so far. Bishop e7 has been played, preparing the castle. What is white gonna do here? Is white gonna play a5 or just gonna keep this position like this, develop short castle, maybe even g4? I would love to see g4. I'm a huge fan of g4. a5 has been played. All right, hitting that queen. The queen has to go back, or you can play queen c6. Well, you can play it, but should you play it? That's another question. And I don't think it's a good idea because of knight e5. So I believe queen d8 should be played here. Hikaru is taking his time here. It makes a lot of sense because you typically don't want to play queen d8 because of knight d6. There we go. And the knights may become at least a bit stronger, but this bishop, it could be painful. Very, very painful. So knight e4 has been played, attacking the bishop as well as defending c5. White does not care and just takes that pawn over here. Let's see, is Hikaru gonna take back on c5 with the knight or gonna take on d6? Okay, takes on c5, takes back, and queen d4. Oh, I think white calculated that already, and this allows white to win the pawn on g7, and this should be looking very, very good for white here. There's almost very little to no counterplay here for black. It seems like white is gonna win this very convincingly. Yeah, so black actually goes long castle, but seeing that the pawn is already on a5, b4 is in the air, I don't think black is gonna be able to survive this. I think it'll be very, very difficult. Let's quickly jump to another game, everyone. Let me see. The games are not loaded on this tab. Then we'll just press here. Oh, the games are not. Oh, my games do not want to load. We just have to be stuck to this game, guys. We're stuck to this game. Okay, it takes some time to load the games, but oh, there we go. After all. All right, let's jump to another game, everyone. We have Kazakh fighter against Azeri chess. All right, knight f4 has been played. What is going on in this position? So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so black is up a pawn, but might be losing one. Okay, well, this pawn is still hanging, so I will take it with a grain of salt, you know, like being a pawn up. But okay, never mind. Black is taking even more pawns. So white has to catch up on a lot, you know. So knight takes c4, and white is down on the clock by almost 2 minutes. So that is pretty devastating already. The fact that you are down 2 minutes on the clock in this time control, it's really, really tough to deal with. And that's already like, I would say in evaluation wise, that's already -5, you know? You're not down the rook, but if you're down this much time, a miracle should happen if you're able to save this, you know? But okay, black takes another pawn. I think this is gonna be a win for black here. So let's quickly move on to another game. I believe black is Mamajadov? It's a guess, but I think that's Azeri chess. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's Mamajadov. So let's see. Let's jump to another game. We see Bhartiya Daneshwar against Indian led. What is happening here? It is Shag. Wonderful, wonderful. Then I'm a good guesser. Queen A1. So the material is equal, but the fact that white has a passer here should give white chances. However, how do you push that pawn? And at the same time, black is having an attack here. Queen E2 hitting on the pawn in F2. Rook trade on C2. And white is defending very well. Queen F1. Obviously, you want to trade that. But now white can push here very safely. You have to be a little bit careful, though. Rook C1 could be dangerous. So if you push, you're kind of like after push Rook C1, what does white have in mind? I'm curious after Rook C1. Is there maybe E4? E4? Is that the move? Is that the move after Rook C1? That would be super pretty. Rook C1, E4, and after takes, you take the queen. You lose a pawn in E4, but because this pawn is so far advanced, you can just keep pushing, and it will be very hard for black to stop that pawn. So, Rook B2, we see trade of rooks over here, but it is very difficult for black to deal with this pawn on B5. And white is being very defensive over here. Got scared of the move. Oh, not there. I mean, bishop E1. So that's why the queen went back. Now, oh, white has a speed up here. White is down to one second. Wait, that drops queen takes F2. Oh, oh, that is so nasty. The time is so nasty. And what do you do here? You don't have time. There's no time for white over here. Only 2 seconds. Queen H1 has to play Queen H2. Queen G2, okay. Black is going for the checks. The advantage is slipping out of black's hands over here. B7, and this should be a draw. This should be a draw. Wow, what a turn of events here. What a turn of events here. So there's 3 pawns over here, but you shouldn't be able to win this. After a pawn push, you obviously like take with the bishop. And you take all the pawns eventually. And white built a nice fortress over here. So there is no way for black to win this. And I believe they're going to agree on a draw very soon. Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's as easy that you can just lose all the 3 pawns. And that's how you make the draw. Without having to offer a draw and then wait for your opponent to accept this. So this is very, very good. Alright. Let's jump into another game. This game already ended. All right. Okay, this game also ended. Okay, this game is still going on. It's Mazatovic against Roberto Molina. Also streaming. I don't know if he's currently streaming right this second, but he's streaming as well. Usually. So let's see what he's doing. Looks like black is much better here. There's a nice passer over here. This passer on h6 is not so useful. I think you can play rook f6 here. Because takes. Oh, actually, you have to be careful. So, black will be able to take the pawn on h6, but white takes on f4. And actually, that is losing for black because the white king is much closer to the other pawns. Very interesting. So, rook e4 has been played, defending that pawn. So, it makes a lot of sense. Rook e5, king d4, okay. This game is very interesting. Now rook f6, definitely not the good idea. But what do you do? How do you defend? You have to trade, and it seems like black has to agree on the draw. Rook c4 check is not enough because you take the pawn, But since your king is so far away, it's very easy for white to play king c5, rook b6, and then take the pawn. So it seems like Roberto missed a small opportunity there to win the game. And are we gonna see rook versus rook, everyone? Or are they gonna agree on a draw? Okay, I think they're... Black refused to take the draw! White was going for the repetition and Black just simply refused to... Oh my god. You know, part of me is like, we should move on to a game. Part of me is like, I want to see someone get punished for this. Because that's content. I want to see someone get punished for this. Okay, I don't expect it. In case you guys are seeing this game and you're like, yep, someone blundered, let me know. But I'm not expecting a blunder here. Hell no. Wait, that's okay. I was gonna say I'm moving on to another game, but all the games are done, so this is the last game. Everyone is waiting for this game to finish. Let's just watch this game and appreciate the beauty of the two rooks, I guess, you know? Like, we have to take this positively, everyone. Okay, rook g3? No? Play rook c3, try to bait rook g3, maybe it's gonna happen, you know? Oh! I think someone is listening to the stream, guys! Someone is listening to the stream! Okay, well, it's clearly not Roberto. Clearly not Roberto. Yeah, we're just waiting for the 15 move rule. For those who don't know, if you if there hasn't been a capture or a pawn move in 50 moves, the game is automatically decided to be a draw. So since there are no pawns here, and the only way to avoid the 50 move rule is by losing the rook. So that's the only capture you can make in this position. So that's why we're just waiting for them to shuffle 50 moves around, and then there you go. There's a draw. All right, very beautiful. That was a nice piece of art. Let's move on to round 6, everyone. I'm waiting for the games to load, but I believe I can... Oh, guys. Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say there's nobody with 100% anymore, but then I realized it's not 5.5 out of whatever, but 5 out of 5. So there are still a few players, guys, in the competition for 11 out of 11. It's definitely possible. But it's also safe to say it's close to impossible. So let's see. We see Azeri Chess against Fenderine. This is the real Lopez opening where White decided to take on c6 with the bishop eventually. And the knight is on g4. And with the knight on g4, basically whenever White plays h3, then Black can play h5. And if you decide to take, it will be very difficult for White to defend what's happening on the h file. There will be a queen on h4 planted, and together with the rook on h8, it will be very hard to defend that. So there we go. There we have it. There we have it. There you go. If White takes, then White is in huge trouble. So basically, you never want to do that. How you do want to deal with this is... Actually, I'm not entirely sure, but what I can say is that you should ignore it and perhaps consider playing bishop e3. Just focus on the other side of the board. Ideally, you would want to trade off this knight, but it's super difficult. Knight g5 is a good way to deal with this. Trying to take the bishop. The more pieces you can trade, the better, obviously. But I still believe that it's really hard to take this knight in the next few moves. Alright, so now Black is spending his time. It makes a lot of sense because obviously White was, well, White spent his time and Black is up like 30 seconds, so there's definitely a lot of time to think about here. And okay, he goes long castle. Long castle, very interesting. Are you gonna see some a3, b4? Queen f3, allowing knight h2? Oh wait, knight h2? Whoa. I did not say that. I did not say that. For some reason, I thought there was a... Oh, I did not do that. For some reason, I thought there was some bishop looking at the diagonal. I completely froze there. But no, I did not say that. I did not say that. Okay, so maybe there's some f6. But then again, like knight takes c6, queen takes, pawn takes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What is black supposed to be doing here? g6. It's a very slow move. It's a very slow move. He's probably afraid that after knight takes c6, queen takes c6, there was queen f5. Trading off the queens. Especially after pawn takes g4. So that's probably why g6 has been played. I wonder how long black is going to hold on to that knight on g4. When is he going to decide, like, okay, it's enough, I need to move it? I think I'm going to take some time still. Knight d1. Probably going for the... I was going to say knight e3, but then this knight is in danger. Let's see what he's up to. f5 has been played. Very, very dynamic position so far. It's very unclear. I wouldn't know when you want... Like, when do you decide to take here? When do you decide to take here? Knight takes e6, queen takes e6, knight e3. Okay, he's just never gonna take it. Fair enough. Makes a lot of sense. But... is black gonna respond here with, like... I mean, if you play f4, then knight takes g4, pawn takes, queen takes, and you lose the pawn, but still, how do you defend the h-file? So f4 actually has been played. Wow, okay. And if pawn takes, then I guess you just take on e3. So, how is Mamajev gonna be dealing with this? I'm not entirely sure. Takes on g4, alright, let's see what's gonna happen. So f takes e3, probably gonna happen here, and then bishop takes e3, I believe. Because if you decide to move this pawn somewhere, just take the pawn h5 probably, then e takes f2 with check. They play so fast, whenever I try to draw an arrow, it removes instantly. It's it's a bit disturbing. Like, I remember that I was trying to draw one arrow like 3 times, and because they were playing so quickly, it was really hard to draw an arrow. But I tried to keep up with them, you know? I try. Okay, f3. So the h-file is open right now. Let's see if black can make use of that, because it's really difficult for white to coordinate well the pieces here. Now that the f-file is also open, it's really hard to just escape to f2 because of rook f8. One of the rooks will go to f8. Rook h7, and there we go. Like, it's really hard to stop this. And then also after that, there's rook f8. Like, it's really hard for white to defend this. I actually don't know if it's even defendable. g3. Rook h8. At least this defends rook h1, because then you can capture. Rook f2. Now, where is the win here for black? Maybe there's queen h3. Threatening queen h1, and then you can win the rook like that. Black is taking it very easy. b6, king b7. Realizes that there's no rush in trying to win this game. Are we gonna see queen g4, rook h3 maybe? Oh, just takes the pawn, of course, of course. Just takes the pawn on a2, and that's another way of winning, just taking some pawns, and at some point you'll have plenty of pawns left to win the game. But it's beautiful how these two rooks are able to tie down this entire position here, because if you move an inch, you either get checkmated or you lose material. So you gotta be really careful on that file over there. Bishop c5, rook e2, takes. Is there rook h1 now? Rook h2. Because if takes, rook takes, king takes, there's queen d2 check, winning one of the rooks. So now queen b2, and I'm still surprised how Mamajev was able to hold this, because it looks super lost, but he's still able to hold this. And now, okay, this is a super smart move, because queen takes g4 obviously drops the rook, but now the rook is very much stuck over here. Where do you move it? Because if you move it, you lose a pawn here. Just takes a pawn, and oh, there goes the rook. There goes the rook. Okay, and it seems like that is GG. Wow. What a good game played by black here. Very, very impressive. And that goes to show how difficult it is to deal with the knight on g4. That goes to show exactly what I was talking about. Let's see if we still have some games going on. This was last game, right? Yeah. Okay, here we have Alexander Bortnik that lost against Harsha Baratakoti. Wow. All right, we move on. We see Sparrow against Mkhitaryan. Okay. What is happening here? So usually the saying goes when we're on knight end games that knight end games are very similar to pawn end games, but sometimes, you know, there are exceptions. There are exceptions because it's very easy to mess up in knight end games, much easier than in pawn end games, I would say. But this seems like a GG. The pawn is just promoting, and there we go. GG. Let's see. Okay, we have Kazakh fighter again against MI Terrible. Again, guys, we have a knight with a couple of pawns against the rook, and the rook is completely useless. Isn't that beautiful? Wait! Comeback? Is there a comeback here for white? King g4 taking the pawn on g5, and that's a draw. You cannot defend it. You can't defend it. Wow. Wow, Kazakh fighter got away with the draw. That seemed very lost, but I'm not sure what black was supposed to be doing instead. But as soon as the pawn dropped, it was not so easy anymore. Perhaps d2 was forced here, but I wouldn't know what the difference is, honestly. It's really hard to say. Really, really hard to say. I would say d2 was the move there, but I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing that d2 was the move. Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard. Or wait a second. Knight of 3 d2. Threatening 91. Maybe that was a win. Maybe that was a win. Because you can't take. Or can you? Okay, I was just guessing. But really difficult endgame. Really, really difficult. Okay. Final game, everyone, of this round. Rook versus bishop. What are we gonna see here? I've always been told this is very, like, I mean, it's a draw, obviously. But I've been told that it's not that simple to defend. But the one time I had the rook against the bishop, that I was the one with the rook, it was super difficult to do anything. King g6. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Wherever the bishop goes, you just follow the bishop and it's checkmate. Rook a7. Rook a8. That's GG. Why does this not happen in my games? And now you just move the rook to the 8th rank anywhere and just take bishop, checkmate. Wow. So I was saying that when I played this with the rook, it was so hard to beat my opponent with the rook. Like, I mean, obviously it's a draw, but my opponent was defending so well. My opponent put the bishop on the long diagonal and was just going back and forth, not being able to do anything. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And it always surprises me whenever I see this happen. Like, I was not able to get any closer to this. But okay. All right. We move on to round 7, everyone. Let's have a look at Big Fish against Didici. Let's have a look at the standings. So we still have a few players with 6 out of 6. Only 3. Only 3 players with 6 out of 6. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping for 11 out of 11. Fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. Let's see. It's getting more difficult, you know? More difficult every single round. Because obviously, the players that have 6 out of 6 are also playing against each other. So, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so this game started from Sicilian defense. Very interesting. Very typical to play d5 in a Sicilian, but this is a bit different of a Sicilian. It's very unusual to have your pawn on c3 like this. Very, very unusual. Queen c1, not allowing black to castle, so if black castles, then the pawn on h6 drops. e5 has been played, alright. Where does the bishop go? You go back to g3 or to e3? I guess e3 would be the most logical to keep the pressure on h6. c7, alright. what is white gonna be following up with next? Is there gonna be some f4 pawn push? That would make some sense. Obviously, you don't want to take here because knight takes e5 and your bishop is in an awkward spot. Black will have a very nice position. Will be able to develop their pieces in very nice way. So, yeah. Bishop f5. If you want to know whose game we're looking at, all you need to do in the chat is exclaim who is, and then their Chesscom username, and you will most likely see the player's name. So yeah, that's how it's done. Thank you so much. Bishop f2 has been played. Short castle, all right. This pawn f4, I think they should take on e5, but it does allow the bishop to activate really, really well. So yeah, I would say white is in an awkward position here. This is not the type of Sicilian you want to get. You would say, though, that white has at least some sort of advantage because later on in the game, these 3 pawns could be much better on this side against the 2 pawns over here. But since white's pieces are super passive, rook on a1, queen c1, rook f1, knight e2, bishop f2, it's really hard to say that we're gonna see white excel in this position. But we never know what's gonna happen. Oh, knight g3 is basically offering a repetition. Is Big Fish gonna accept this? I wouldn't say so, but you never know. It's taking his time. Okay, he decides to take that knight off the board. There you go, e4. It does allow f5, but there's maybe bishop e5 or check. There's a check even. Okay, so if you play bishop f2, you'll just lose that pawn. You can take on f5, but do you want to take that pawn? I wouldn't be so sure because the g file will be open, this pawn f5 will be super weak anyways. So that's why Big Fish decides to play rook e8. I believe Big Fish is Vladimir Fedosiev, by the way. But correct me if I'm wrong. I do not have all the information available on my screens, but I'm trying to keep up. Okay, f6 has been played. Trapping that bishop over there, but the bishop goes to f8, so it still has some future ahead with bishop d6 and so on. Rook e8, strengthening the power of the pawn on e4. It's a bit hard for white to do anything here, really. As much as you want to try to attack the pawn on e4, it's super easy for Black to defend this pawn. Queen b5, attacking the pawn on b2. b3, alright. Queen d3 is a very logical move, I would say. Attacking pawn on c3 and also simply covering the pawn on e4. Queen c6 could be also a move, but then bishop d4 would be very good. e3! That's what we want to see. e3. Very, very nice move. I believe after bishop takes e3, there's rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, and there's no queen takes because of queen takes f1. So that's why the bishop went back. e2 has been played, and now this pawn is super strong. It's really hard to stop that pawn. Well, I mean, obviously you're stopping the pawn right now, but in the very, very near future, white is gonna have some problems with this pawn. Alright. Queen f4 offering to trade. Do you want to trade here with the black pieces? I wouldn't be so sure. I wouldn't be so sure. Queen a5. Hitting on another pawn. Black is trying to tickle white a little bit. You know, on the pawn over there, the pawn over there, and finding a way to break into white's position. And there you go, queen takes a2. I'm not sure why white allowed that, but we all see ourselves just dropping pawns to try to get some activity going, and that's what white is going for here as well. So rook h3, rook e4, the queen has to retreat. I believe white was trying to go for rook takes h6, followed by queen takes h6, threatening queen g7 checkmate, but obviously that's only happens in an ideal situation. Okay, rook f4, and we're gonna see if queen g1, there's queen takes e1, so that's why rook f3 has been played. Do you want to take that? I mean, you can obviously take that. Rook takes e4 instead. Oh, bishop b4. Oh, that is so pretty. That is so pretty. And it's really hard to stop this. You're just losing here for sure. Very neat play by Vladimir Fedosiev. Very, very neat play. Wow. All right, so the other person with 6 out of 6 was Fenderine. Let's see how Fenderine is doing. Seems like Fenderine is winning very, very convincingly, being up an exchange, but also a couple of pawns. So this must be a win for Fenderine. So I'm guessing Fenderine will be playing against Fedosiev then. Which would mean that we will have only one person, maybe, with 100% after that. So we're getting closer to the 100% dream, but there's still a couple of more rounds to go. All right. That was very well played by Fenderine. Let's have a look at the other games. We see Chesscom against Nuki, and what? Huh? Wait, what? Was that a mouse slip? What? Wait, what? Can anyone explain what happened? For how long has this game been going on? Oh, wait. Wait, when was the last capture or pawn move? What? Here. 98. Ouch. Ouch. Like 10 more moves and it was a draw. Ouch. Ouch. I'm not sure why either of the players were continuing in such a close position. This should have been a draw. Ouch. That hurts a lot. Definitely. Okay, let's move on to the other games. Let's see. We see... Okay. Harsha against Mkhitaryan. Okay. What is happening here exactly? Very close position as well here. This bishop is literally trapped. You can't move this bishop out of here. Is there a chance for black to win this? I would say no. If anything, the king is staying here and... Never say never. So now this knight is trapped. This is so funny. Both the knight and the bishop are trapped. And... Okay. Yeah, the bishop can just go back and forth over here. 95. And they take it. Okay. Oh, Harsha, only 1 second. You gotta move. Only 1 second. Oh. No. Oh. Please don't flag. Oh. Is it still a draw after that? Wow. Whew. Wow, it's still a draw after that. That's kind of impressive. No matter what, it's still a draw. What? What? No! No! No, the pawn is pushing with check! It's promoting with check! Oh my god, no! I almost thought it was a stalemate, but no. Oh my god. Oh my god, what an upset over there. This is what happens when you try to win too much. This is what happens, and it was in his full rights, because while it was so long time, you're kind of like pushing so much to make your opponent flag. So the fact that this happened, it doesn't surprise me, but man, it's super unlucky. Super unlucky that the king was on c3, so that the pawn was promoting here with check. Pawns can be super nasty, guys. Pawns can be super nasty. Alright, let's watch the top game, everybody. Big Fish against Fenderine. Both players are on 100%. The only two players. Please don't make a draw. For the love of God, please don't make a draw. Alright, so far we are in the relapes, everyone. By the way, this is round 8, so this will be the last round before we're gonna be moving on to a break. After this round, we're moving on to the break. So yeah, the players will be able to get some rest. Very well deserved and needed rest, probably, because from my own experience playing in this event, super hectic. It is super hectic. You spend so much time and energy on this. Like 3+1 may look like it's just, you know, you're in a regular, you know, it's between 3-0 and 3-2, but no. There is so much more going on than your games, your like casual games in the pool. This is much more hectic and chaotic. So I know all about this. For those people, for the top players, it's not any different probably, because they always play against each other. But myself, I don't play against these kind of people all the time. So it's a very different experience than when I'm playing against players in the regular queue. So, all right, let's have a look at the position, everyone. Bishop d2 has been played, kind of defending the pawn on c3. So if pawn takes, I'm guessing white still wants to take with the pawn, simply for the fact that you want to prepare d4 at some point. Knight d7, it allows knight d5 to be played. However, that also allows f5. So that balances it out. Let's see what white is going to be playing here. Maybe he's going to play completely different move like knight g4. Could also consider playing d4, but obviously that drops a pawn. But maybe white will be able to gain a lot of activity from this. But obviously there's no need to play this. Okay, so Big Fish is taking quite some time here. Maybe he's going to play something like g4. I don't know. Okay, I was close. g3. Obviously g4 wasn't a great move, but just to stop f5. But after g4, there might be some bishop g5, bishop f4, causing some problems here on the dark squares. So that's why g3, and maybe he's preparing h4, h5, and there might be an attack going on the h file. Bishop g5, h4, bishop h6. All right. It's very typical for the bishop to go to g7. It's a very unique way of the bishop to go to g7, but yeah, usually it goes through f8 to g7, you know. All right. Pawn takes c3, pawn takes c3, rook b2. The rook enters the second rank, attacking the bishop on c2, which is defended, but not really, because the bishop is hitting on d2. Queen d1 defends that bishop. What is black gonna do here? Is gonna black continue with queen b6, or gonna completely go somewhere else with queen g5, queen f6? There's so many ways to deal with this position. Both players are like kind of playing on both sides, especially black. So it's really interesting to see. So pawn takes g6. Very unusual position. Are you gonna see some d4 action? I don't know. For now, black is focusing on the pawn on f2. Okay, rook trade has happened there. Okay. All right. Okay, Big Fish is up on time now. Remember, he spent quite some time on his move earlier. He got all the time back now. And it's Van der Reen going to 30 seconds now. Ooh, he's taking a lot of time now. Almost a minute down now. King h8, ooh. It's very typical. When you spend so much time on your move, it's very common that you will do a very inaccurate move. This is not too bad, but it's very typical. Like usually you spend so much time and then the move you'll be playing is h3 or h6, you know, like a very kind of standard basic move, but it took you so much time, and in the end it's not even the best move or close to best move. So it's a very typical situation here as well with king h8. So queen f7 has been played. Rook f1, defense upon f2, because obviously that is black's target. Knight h5 has been played. Yeah, what's next? What's next? It's kind of hard to see how black is going to be attacking here. Maybe there's going to be a sacrifice knight f4. I wouldn't be sure. I wouldn't be sure about that, but it could be an idea. He takes f4, f3 check. All right, bishop c1. Very solid passive move. It's kind of like a waiting move, but Van der Rijn is down to 2 seconds. He needs to move. He needs to move much faster. Bishop b3, okay. Queen e8. He needs to play much faster. The 2 seconds, like he's on 1 second increment, guys. That's not enough. I mean, it is enough to still be alive in the game, but you need to play really fast. Really, really fast. Queen e7 defends the pawn on d6. Queen e3, knight e7. Okay, the players are playing too fast now to even understand what's going on. But rook b7, it seems like a good move. Queen d8. Is there some queen h6? Yep, that looks like a logical move. But the knights are holding all the squares. So it's not so clear what white can do here. But rook f7, and there we go. That's the tactical final blow of this position. And Vladimir Fedoseev goes home with the full point in this game. So very well played by Vladimir. It was a really interesting game. It felt like black had some chances, but I think the time was the deciding factor of this game. Because of the time, black was not able to create a nice position. It was kind of struggling to coordinate the pieces well, and then white took over the game with this beautiful movement of the rook to go to b7, to go to f7, and then at last to f8. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at some other games, if there's still some games going on. Okay, we see Grishuk against Didici again. It's a knight endgame. Looks very drawish, to be fair. Looks very drawish. Even if you manage to like trade these pawns, you'll have one pawn left here, but it doesn't look like anyone can win this here. Yeah, I think they'll agree on a draw here. Okay, never mind. They're not agreeing on a draw. They're not agreeing. King f5. Oh, this is gonna be very, very interesting. c5, king e5. Oh, still fine. I was gonna go to another game, but they make it interesting. Okay, this should be a draw. But the a pawn is definitely a draw. Let's move on to another game. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Here we have a knight against the pawn, and this should be winning because the knight is able to capture that pawn. You could even play knight b1, but you don't have to. And then you could pick up the pawn on h4. But, well, okay, knight e2 was very, very creative, but this is also another way to win this. And now the king is just gonna pick up the pawn on h4, and this should be GG. But be careful! You gotta be careful! Okay, h7 is enough to win. Okay, there you go. Very clean, very clean. Well done. Well done. Let's move on to another game. What is happening here? The pawn on e7 is really nice, but... Oh, maybe there... What was black supposed to play there? Not entirely sure. Oh, okay. Okay, black lost on time, but... Engine was saying that a game was equal, but I wouldn't be so sure how to deal with king g5. Okay, not really equal, white is better, but the bar spiked up when black played king d5. I'm honestly not sure what black should have played here. Maybe some king e3 to support the pawn that was gonna push all the way there, but it's still lost because the two pawns are just so much stronger than the rook. So, alright, I believe there's one more game left, guys, before we move on to the break. Whoa! Oh, they had a repetition. Alright. Okay, I was still trying to figure out what's going on, but it makes sense that the game ended like this because it's really hard for white to progress here. It might look like queen versus rook should be a win for white, but hell no. Hell no, because it's a fortress. There's nothing you can do. You need the king to be able to win this game, and because the king cannot come any closer to the enemy's king, it's very, very much impossible to win this for white. And yeah, that's the end of this round, everyone. We are moving on to a short break. We have Big Fish leading the tournament so far with 8 out of 8. 3 more rounds, everyone. It's still possible to have 11 out of 11. Who knows what's gonna happen in the last 3 rounds, everyone. Stay where you are, and we will see you back in a few minutes for round 9 of the early edition of Title Tuesday. See you in a little bit. everyone to round 9 of Title Tuesday, the early edition of today. My name is Anna-Maja Kazarian, and let's see who's gonna take home the first prize of $1,000, everyone. I hope you guys are excited as I am to find out who's gonna be the winner of today's early edition Title Tuesday's winner. Let's see, the games have started already, I believe. We had a very, very short break. So let's see. We have Big Fish against Mishanik. Let's see how they are doing so far. Okay, they're on move 20 already. They've played their moves very quickly. Let's have a look. So Black has a pair of bishops over here, whereas White has a pair of knights. Very interesting to see, but I would like to be playing here with the white pieces, simply for the fact that this bishop on e8 is pretty bad. It's really, really hard to make use of this bishop, especially with this pawn chain over here, pretty much. Queen b4 trying to hit on these pawns over here to free this poor bishop over here, but followed by rook b1. It's really hard to make anything out of this, but okay. At the same time, it's not so simple for white to be dealing with this, because the knight can't move. If the knight moves, the pawn on c4 will drop, and the knight is the only defender pretty much of this pawn, and since there are two rooks looking at this pawn, it's also really hard to, like, you know, defend it with another piece to free this knight over here. So because of that, all right, queen d2 offering the trade, and Black decides to play queen e3, completely declining this offer. Big Fish is swimming ahead and fast. Very, very good point in the chat. Yeah, let's see how far he can swim. Because I'm still here for it. I really want to see a 100% score, guys, at the end of the tournament. All right, f6 has been played, defending that pawn on e5. I'm actually curious. So rook takes d6. Okay. Bishop f8 was attacking the rook, which is why you couldn't take the pawn. All right, f6, rook d3, g5. All right, now we're here. Seems like white wasted a move here with rook d1 and then rook d3. But I guess it's not a big deal over here. Bishop g6 attacks the pawn e4, and white decides to defend it with the knight on d2. g4, okay, we have an h file that's open now, and Black could actually make use of this by playing rook h7, rook h2, attacking the pawn on g2, and that could be very nice for Black. First, he decides to go for bishop h6, probably trying to trade that knight because of the fact that the pawn on e4 will be hanging. So how is Big Fish going to be dealing with this? His position doesn't look so great anymore. So it's very incredible to see how Black was able to free the two bishops, and look how dangerous they are right now. So White decided to play f3 to at least defend the pawn on e4. But it allows the bishop to be on f4 for a very, very long time. So I'm expecting bishop f4, rook h7, rook h2. That looks very, very nice for Black. And yeah, Black could definitely use that activity. Definitely. Decides to take on b5 first, all right, and uses the a file instead. Okay, very interesting decision. So the idea is probably that after rook a2, there might be some bishop takes d2, and like there might be some consequences here for White, especially with this pawn on c4. But White plays knight d1, all right, rook a2. Yeah, knight e3 is probably one of the best moves, because I was thinking knight c3, but that probably drops the pawn on c4 after rook takes, bishop takes, king takes, and the pawn would be undefended. So knight e3 blocks the bishop at least. Rook g1 is attacking that bishop on g6, and how is Black gonna defend that? King f7 looks like the most natural move. Rook h1 trying to enter on h8. It is a very logical idea, but it doesn't seem like White will be able to get far with that. Are we gonna see repetition? Okay. Mishanik ignored the repetition. Now the game continues. Both players are below 20 seconds, and we haven't seen big mistakes happening so far. So so far the players are playing really, really well and accurately. The bishops are getting even stronger right now. Rook d6 is attacking that pawn. King f7 defends that very well. And b6, Big Fish is trying to be scary with those pawns, and he is succeeding with his plan so far. Rook takes g5, sacrificing the exchange to get another pawn and then push the other pawns at the same time. Knight takes e5, knight c4 is knight c4 will be followed by rook d1 check. That was losing material. Very, very well seen by Big Fish. Bishop b5, knight e3. All right, what's gonna happen? Is this so crazy? E4. Now knight e4 is possible because rook d1 is covered. C6. All right. That allows white to play knight c5. Oh, those knights are monsters. The knights are monsters, and the evil bar is just jumping up and down. It's so unclear what's happening. Bishop on c8. How is black gonna defend from this monster of a pawn? Those three pieces over here, monsters. King b5, slowly but surely. Big Fish is going... Oh my god, look at this. Just look at that. And after rook c1, you can just play knight d6. And now bishop a6 is possible because the knight was pinned. But what do you do after king b6? It's over. It's over. Big Fish is supposed to be winning here. I don't want to say too early because he's 1 second. Move! Oh my god! Oh my god, what? Oh no! No! Oh my god. The same thing. Well, this was even worse probably, but almost the same thing happened as the other game we saw. Because suddenly all of the pawns were hanging, as well as the pawn e5, which was the last pawn, and this is a draw. What is saved by Mishanik? Wow. What is saved by Mishanik? That was super impressive. Knight c5, king c6. Just because he was low on time. It kind of feels like this was a mouse slip, because obviously he can't just promote. He can just promote without any problems. And this is why you don't resign, guys. You don't resign just for this reason. Wow. I'm sorry, guys. I jinxed it. We're not gonna have a 100% score. We were so close. But we have to try again the next time. This ended in a win for white. And that was actually round 9. That was round 9. Round 9 is over. We're moving on to round 10. Let's look at some different players, everybody. Who do we want to see? Who do we want to see? I can't really scroll down too much, so I don't have a big option, big variety of games, but let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh, it doesn't want to. Okay, it doesn't allow me to press. Thought I saw someone that I wanted to look at. Okay. All right, let's look at this game. Let's look at this game. Santa Blue against Target 8. What is happening here? Okay, this is... Let's have a look. Okay, so this is the King's Indian defense where black is taking control of the e4 square. Otherwise, it was going to be e4. So knight e4 was a very logical move. Knight d5 was played almost instantly after that. b5, very interesting position. Very dynamic play. It's not so solid. Like, there's a lot of things happening. So knight e3 has been played now, attacking that bishop on f5. And also defending the pawn on c4. Knight takes f5, g takes f5. All right. So white has the pair of bishops. But yeah, you have to develop this bishop. You have to develop the bishop somehow, but it's really difficult because the pawn on b2 will be taken, obviously. Knight h4, and the pawn is under attack, so we're probably gonna be seeing e6 over there. Very dynamic position. Like, it's super hard to see what is actually going on. This pawn is hanging as well on d4. d5 is being played, absolute madness. It drops the pawn on b2, however. Okay, black decides to play knight e7, okay. Fixing the pawn structure at least, because now there are no doubled pawns. Queen a4. It's always these kind of crazes that are so fun to watch, but also so hard to see what is happening. Why this game? Because I want to show a variety of games because there's so much happening in this tournament, and we will jump to the top games in the next round when it's the final round, and the results will be much more clear. But yeah, I just want to jump around and show a more variety of players of games. So d5 has been played. I believe there is some c3 in the air. And since if white takes on c3, there will be bishop takes c3, and obviously that is losing a rook, so that could be an interesting idea. Queen d6 is offering a trade, and I don't think white wants to take that. There we go, queen a4. Yeah, this doesn't look great for white. Like, black is super, super active. Bishop takes b2, the pawn drops now, and yeah, it's this center? I don't know. Like, usually the center is like these four squares, but I call this a center on its own. Like, it's such a big pawn chain, and there's really, really only so little that white can do against it. So I'm expecting black to win this. Obviously, anything is possible still, but so far it looks very convincing, and it's gonna be really hard to stop those pawns. Let's have a look at some other games. We see Jumbo against Erik Hansen. Jumbo is always reminding me of the supermarket we have in the Netherlands, which is literally called Jumbo. So it's always really funny to see this username. But yeah, bishop e6. All right, what is happening in this position? So the material is equal, and black has a really nice knight on f4, but it's not able to have an attack going on yet because white is defending this very, very well. Queen b3, bishop d7 retreats the bishop. Very interesting decision. Rook d2. All right, queen g6. Preparing an attack. I'm not too sure how black could start an attack, because if you play h4, you'll be hit by knight h4. So that's definitely not it. If queen f6, after queen f6, there's I was gonna say maybe there's some capture in the air, but the knight is very well defended. So once again, it's really difficult for either side to make something out of this. Both players are trying to find a way to break in the opponent's position, but the other side is defending really well. So bishop f1, what is black going to do here? Both players are around 1 minute on the clock, so the clock situation is still fine, but black is taking his time. What is he gonna do now? Are we gonna see g5 maybe? g5, g4? Knight e6, all right. Preparing probably knight g5. Knight f4. Knight f5, I mean, I'm sorry. So what happens after knight g5? Is there gonna be a trade? And then rook g3 perhaps. Perhaps that's the problem with knight g5. So it seems like white is slowly but surely coming back from this. Okay, interesting decision to play c4. White is up almost 30 seconds, so white should be making use of this time difference. c5, allowing black to play bishop takes f5, but at the same time the center of black will just fall apart because all the pawns will become very, very vulnerable, and obviously the pawn d6 is hanging. Black decides to take on f5, all right. Now pawn takes, and now what? g3. That's a very good start, because where does the knight go? Surprising enough, it can't go back because of this pawn. So knight takes e5, and the knight is hanging on h5. Wow, what a very well calculated line by white. Wow. Very, very impressive. Queen g6. It drops the pawn, but you can probably win it back with rook b3. However, there's rook d4. Is black gonna trade there? It is definitely possible to trade here, but the problem is with bishop g2, because you're gonna lose that pawn anyways. So he takes the pawn with him, but I see the coordination between the bishop and rook better than this knight and rook. Like, the knight is super misplaced, and it's really hard to see how it will actually find its way to a nice square like d4. It's really hard to see the knight go there. All right, e4. So this pawn is also very, very vulnerable. Wow, what a pawn structure over here. Okay, giving a check. Probably rook e6, and then there's two ways of winning a pawn. It's really hard to defend. And that drops a pawn, and this should be easy to win for white. This should be easy to win. It's gonna take some time, probably, because, well, you cannot just promote. Oh, gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. Rook f4, yeah, that's kind of forced, you know? Okay, check, king f2. Rook c1. It's not so simple yet. Black is still trying to hold the draw, you know? Black is still trying. Yeah, you gotta try to push the pawns sooner or later, but woo! It's really close to repetition. It's really, really close. Really close to repetition. Alright. Rook g1. White is making it very, very close like this. I wouldn't know how to play this better, obviously, but it is not... It's not simple. It is not simple. Eric is very low on time now. Whew. I get goosebumps when I'm seeing like 0 point something second, you know? It's really scary. And there you go, f4. After all, we see a pawn move. And we should soon be going to a simple win. Bishop g2. Okay, pawn move there. Alright. f6. That's what we've been waiting for. f6. So the pawn, bishop h7, and the pawn promotes. There we go. Now just promote. Yeah. Very well played by Jumbo. That looked a little shaky, but honestly, in this time control, I'm already happy that Jumbo was not making a huge mistake. So very well converted by Jumbo. Very well done. Let's see how Wonderful Time is doing against Tiger Vishlyap. If I pronounce it correct. Is it Gata Kamsky? If I can see the picture correctly, that looks like Gata Kamsky. So it's Min against Gata. And this looks like a draw. This looks like a draw. It took me much longer to figure out the names than what's going on the board, because this is pretty sure a draw. This must be a draw. The players are taking their time in making this a draw, but there you go. I was right. It's Gata Kamsky. Beautiful. I was right. So far, so good. So far, I've been guessing correctly, I believe. That's very good. All right, so we see, guys, at the top, let's have a quick look at the standings. So we see that Jobava is on the first place with 9 out of 10. Big Fish has actually they've lost their game. Wow. Big Fish lost, so that means that Jobava is first, and second place is Mishanik, tied with a couple of people. There are 5 in total, to be exact. And after that, there's a lot of people followed with 8 out of 10 points. So let's have a look at their games. Final round has started just now, so well, I was gonna say has started, but okay, there we go. There we go. I see the games. There we go. All right. Nuki has 11 games. The one over here is more quickly updated than my list. What? It's very impossible for them to have a buy, so I'm not entirely sure where that point came from. Is it like a forfeit? I don't see this person's game either in my list, so the list that I'm having right here is very slowly updating. For some reason, the list over here is more quick, but very strange, yeah. Very, very strange. He can probably look up on his profile what his last game was, we played against and what happened, but yeah, I can see it on my screen right now. So let's see. We have Mishanik against Exotic Princess, basically battling for the first place. It's always a question, like, if one of them wants to take a draw. I believe for Jobava it is okay to take a draw, but if he wins the tournament. That's it. Like, he doesn't need to do anything else for it. But if he draws, then it's kind of questionable, and it will all come down to tie breaks. And as you can see on the screen here, his tie breaks aren't so great. So he's probably trying to go for a win here. And we have in this position a typical pawn structure of the Slav defense, with the pawns on a6, b5, and c6, and the pawn a5. It is common to have the pawn there if you play a4, obviously. If you don't, then it's kind of it's very unusual, but it is typical in the Slav defense to have your pawn on a5. The idea of the Slav defense is typically that white has the center over here like this, very beautiful, but eventually black wants to play c5 to break down the center and open up some diagonals and squares for their pieces, because as you can see, the pieces are a little stuck over here. But we're seeing knight takes c6, sacrificing the piece, and if black takes here, there will be knight takes b5, a discovery attack, and it will not be so clear what's going on. It will not be super clear. Which is why Jobava is going for rook c8, ignoring that knight over there. White goes back to e5, and black plays bishop b4, and black is accepting the fact that they lost the pawn, and now they're going for an attack on the queen side, making use of the fact that the c file is open now, you know? Bishop b4. What's gonna happen now? White can do a lot of things here, but I think the main problem is, exactly, I was gonna say e4 is the main problem because of the fact that the knight is under attack. There will be there will be a defender less for this pawn, so that's why f3 was played to cover that pawn on e4. So queen f7 attacking the pawn d4, and now it's defended by the queen, and knight c5. Wow, wait a minute, what was that? Knight c5? Was there some knight takes b5? Or am I seeing things? I don't know. But that looked really scary. The point of knight c5 was basically that after takes, bishop takes c5, and the queen will be lost. So bishop c2, knight b7, knight d3. By the way, guys, we have to note that Michanik is down 1 minute on the clock compared to Jobava's clock. So that could also be very decisive in the final result. It's something that we have to look out for, especially Michanik himself. Knight takes b5. This knight is on a rampage, taking pawns like it's nothing. Even though they're defended, Michanik is like, they're not defended, they're just mine. And finally, Jobava decides to take this, but I think it costs a piece at the same time, so yeah. That was a very interesting trade. That was a very interesting trade. Knight a5, threatening knight b3 is not a big threat, but hey, we gotta make use of our pieces for sure. It does help with the attack on d4, and wow, Jobava pre-moving like that. Oh my goodness, he was expecting it all. Bishop takes b5, dropping a pawn. Is there rook b8? Is there rook b8? But maybe it will be defended by rook c5. Ooh, not so clear. Oh wait, rook b8 was dropping the rook. What am I saying? I did not see this bishop over here. Did you guys see the bishop on h2? I did not see that bishop on h2. That's why there was no rook b8. I see. Rook e8, trying to activate the rook from a different square. E5 was is still attacking the knight, so still gotta take care of that. Knight d4, another trade. Okay, woo. What do you do with this pawn? You ignore it? I would ignore it, but I wouldn't be happy with my position either. Bishop g6, okay, that's still holding things together. Bishop e5, very strong move. If pawn takes, knight takes f6, and it's very dangerous over here. And obviously the pawn is hanging like this, so you gotta do something. Okay, we see rook e2. There's no check for black anymore. Rook c8. Oh my god, guys, what's happening? Michanik is down to 12 seconds now, and Jobava is just pre-moving. He's pre-moving. Man, he's really fast. So this position, I would say that white is winning, but I can see this end in a draw. Like, I don't see black winning this ever, even if like Michenik had like 1 second on the clock. But this is very close to a draw. Even though white is up 2 pawns, you gotta still push those pawns, right? You still gotta do it. Oh, if you move the knight, it's checkmate. If you move the knight, it's checkmate. Wow. Okay, now the bishop moves, so it's not... Okay, I thought, what? But it was a check. It was a check. If knight f4, king f6, this is a threat. This is a checkmate threat. Are we gonna see a draw? No. No, he declines. King f6. Are we gonna try for the checkmate again? Pause champ. Pause champ. Whew. Okay, he escapes the checkmate, but this is very dangerous for white. And I'm only saying this because of the time situation. I'm only saying it because of this. Because we also have to note that there is an opposite color bishop situation, which means that white can not control the same squares as this bishop. Well, they can with the knight, maybe, but generally the bishops cannot like touch each other, you know? Knight b5 check. Ooh. Trades the knights. Okay. Knight versus bishop now. Okay, this looks like a draw. Yeah, this is a draw for sure. As well, specifically for Jobava, Michenik can still flag, but there we go, repetition, and the game ends in a draw. Let's have a look at the standings, everyone. Okay, it's not loading for me, but it is updating over here. So that means Big Fish is first place so far. Who's still playing, guys? Is anyone still playing that has a chance to finish in the top 5? Let's have a look. Okay, it looks like Big Fish is the winner of this week's Title Tuesday of the early edition, guys. It looks like we have a winner. Congratulations to Big Fish. Very, very great performance. I was believing so much in the 11 out of 11, but maybe next time. It was super close. It was super close. But before, obviously, we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna look at the remaining games because there's still quite some games going on. Okay, only 3. I was way too optimistic about that. But ooh, is there some B2? Are we gonna see B2 happen, or is black not having the... Okay, well, I was gonna say if black is not having the rook and bishop versus rook situation, but here we are. Let's see, guys. I think we're here for a long ride. Let's see if black can do anything here. Oh, imagine if there was bishop d7. Okay. Do you guys believe we're gonna see an upset here, or do you guys think it's just gonna be a draw? I wouldn't even know. Is this easier to hold than rook versus bishop for the bishop side? Do you guys think this is... No! Bishop e6 check! Oh my god. What an end! What an ending to the early edition of this week's Title Tuesday. Wow! Okay, I mean, wow, what an ending. What an ending. That's actually crazy. All you need to do with this king is basically be on the darker squares so you don't get checked by the bishop, but it's easier said than done. Easier said than done. Wow, what a beautiful finish. Well done, Jumbo. Well done. And that brings us to the standings, guys. Let's have a look at the standings. I have it right here. There we go. There you see the top, I believe top 12. First place, obviously, Big Fish, as I said before. Congratulations to Big Fish with a better tiebreak score and 9.5 points out of 11. Second place, Eltai Sarfarli. We actually haven't seen his games this week, so really well done anyways. Baru Jobava with his account Exotic Princess on third place with 9.5 out of 11. Sadly, with a very low tiebreak, but still good enough for third place. Fourth place goes to Mishanik with 9 out of 11. And Nuki is on the fifth place. And sadly, Jumbo, I believe there were once again the top 5 were getting prizes. So Jumbo is sadly with this beautiful win in the end out of the prizes, but still a very good performance. And I enjoyed this week's Title Tuesday a lot, guys. The early edition of Title Tuesday, if you don't know, there are 2 editions weekly since the 1st of February. So later tonight, to be exact, let me see, in less than 4 hours from now, you'll be seeing the late edition of Title Tuesday on, I'm not sure if it's this channel, probably this channel as well, but also on Chess, the main channel, I believe. And you'll have a fun time with GM Kanti. He'll be covering, he'll be hosting the late edition of tonight's event. Before I head off, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a follow on this channel as well as on my channel, as I stream on my own channel called Anna-Maja. You can follow me right there. I'm streaming there quite regularly, so don't forget to drop a follow. I hope you guys I hope you guys enjoyed it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to tune in for the late edition tonight if you're able to, because especially the people from the US are benefiting from this late edition. I hope to see you next time. Stay tuned for the raid. Join the raid, guys. Don't leave right away, because we're gonna be raiding someone really quickly. Thank you, guys.